Maryland is a state rich in history, and for those of us who like the peculiar side of history, it's in no short supply. To begin our journey, we will start with a ghost story, The Legend of Moll Dyer. This story was based on material that I got from a book called The Big Book of Maryland Ghost by Ed Okonowitz. In the late 1600s, Moll Dyer was a woman who lived in Leonardtown in southern Maryland. Moll was a haggardly old woman, and the townspeople accused her of being a witch. Moll lived outside of town because the townspeople were not very nice to her. Whenever something went wrong in the town, whether the crops went dry or the cow didn't produce milk, someone got sick, the weather was too cold, it was always because of the curse of the witch, Moll Dyer. So, in 1697, it was a particularly rough winter, and there was a large epidemic that spread through Leonardtown. Many people succumbed to the epidemic, probably influenza, but children were particularly taken back by the epidemic. The townspeople got together, and after a night of drinking in the tavern, they decided that they were going to rid Leonardtown of the witch for good. So they gathered a mob, and they went out and chased Moll from her house into the woods. They burned her house, but she escaped. She went about 5 miles into the woods, and as her house burned, she ran, and they did not find her until the next morning in the woods, which probably looked about like this on an icy winter night. She was found the next morning like this, laying across a rock. That rock is called the Moll Dyer Rock, and it now sits in front of the St. Mary's Historical Society. And they say that if you go to the woods where Moll lived, you can still hear and see her running through the woods the way she was chased that night. Some say that Moll was leaning down to pray. Others say that she was cursing Leonardtown. This is the rock, the Moll Dyer Rock, and as you can see, hundreds of years later, there's still her imprint of her hand in the rock. And if you go and put your hand on the rock, they say that you will feel nauseous. Next, we will go to a ghost story. It's the legend of Big Liz, the ghost of Big Liz, from a book called Spooky Maryland by S.E. Schlosinger. And Liz was a slave in Cambridge, Maryland, on the eastern shore of Maryland during the Civil War. And during the Civil War, many of the people of Maryland were Southern sympathizers, and the Confederate Army used that they were Southern sympathizers to plant gold on many of the plantations throughout Maryland. And Big Liz, as seen here, her master was a Southern sympathizer, and he was asked to hide gold. Well, when that gold was rumored to have been discovered, the hiding place, the master thought that Big Liz was a traitor and that she had told the Union Army where the gold was hidden. So he took Liz out to where he had hid the gold, to Greenbrier Swamp, and he had Liz dig the gold back up, move the gold to another location in Greenbrier Swamp, and when the gold was reburied, he asked her to plant a sapling on where the gold was buried so that he would know where to find it. Well, when Liz did this, she bent down to plant the sapling, and the plantation owner took a tobacco and chopped off her head. It is said that Big Liz still haunts Greenbrier Swamp, and that if you go out to DeCourcy Bridge over Greenbrier Swamp and you turn off your car, honk your horn 3 times, flash your lights twice, Big Liz will appear and she will motion for you to come with her, supposedly to show you where the chest of gold is. Well, you will do that at your own risk, because it's been rumored that anyone who has followed Big Liz has never been seen again. Now we can proceed on to demonic possession. The next story is about The Exorcist. And the material from this story is from Mark Opasnick's A Haunted Boy, the inspiration for The Exorcist. And as many people have seen, The Exorcist is about a 12-year-old girl from Georgetown, Washington, D.C. Well, actually, the real story is a boy, not a girl. It's a 13-year-old boy from Cottage Grove in Prince George's County, Maryland. That boy, who underwent 2 exorcisms. The story was actually first a book called The Exorcist and then turned into a movie. Well, that book was based on diaries that one of the priests that was present during the exorcisms kept notes and logs about what had occurred during the exorcism. And the priest did say that, yes, the boy was violent. Yes, the boy did scream out phrases in Latin, as did the girl in the movie. But in the movie, there was some movie magic, like the spitting of the green pea soup and the spinning around of her head. None of these things actually happened, but like I said, the priest did depict that the boy was very violent. Things did fly around the room, as in the movie, but with the boy being violent, he actually broke a spring away from the bed and stabbed the priest. So the actual boy, after he underwent the second of the 2 exorcisms, the first being in Georgetown University Hospital, the second being in St. Louis, Missouri. And when he returned from St. Louis, Missouri, Ronald Edwin Hunkler from Cottage City, Maryland, which is the real boy behind The Exorcist, he said that he was cured, that he had actually seen St. Michael lead the demons from his body. He returned to his home in Cottage City. He continued on to finish high school and then went on to work for NASA, never moving out of the Maryland area, and had a normal life. So, as you have seen, Maryland is quite rich in history, and in conclusion, you can just take from this to just remember that when you have been somewhere, you're not the first person to be there, that everyone has been somewhere, and you should respect the history of where